This is a question I see pop up all the time on social media, whether it be X, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit. What are your top 5 desert island bourbons? Thanks so much for being here today, everyone. My name's Chris. Welcome back to Bourbon Sane. So we got a fun episode today. Now, most of these top 5 desert island bourbon lists, it's just what are your top 5 favorite bourbons? You know, what are the 5 things you would bring with you or you could have on a desert island if you were stranded for the rest of your life? Now, of course, I'm going to be talking about my favorite top 5 here as well, or some of my favorites, but I'm going to put a little spin on it, a little variation on this. What we're going to do is talk about 5 bourbons that actually may be beneficial to us on the island. So not only bourbons that we would love to have and drink all the time and the reasons why, but just things that we could actually use to help us survive on the island. So let me know if you guys like this type of video. I'll bring you more. Today we're going to focus on just bourbons, but if you wanted to see a rye whiskey, even a world whiskey type video of this, let me know down in the comments below. Please do like, subscribe to the channel, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. Let's start with number 5. Okay, these are in no particular order, just my opinions, but let's start with number 5, and this is going to be our survival essential. So we got to have something that's going to help us be able to survive in the wild, survive on that island. And for me, I was thinking maybe a fire starter. Now, when we talk fire starter, we could choose lots of things. Jack Daniel's Barrelproof, a lot of hazmat, even rye options. I decided to go with the Elijah Craig Barrelproof. All these are usually pushing hazmat, between 120 and 140 proof. And honestly, if we need to get the fire started, we could just dump this right in there and I think light it with a match, use a little stick and rock. I think we could make it work. I do. Not only that though, not only the proof, but this bottle's always delicious. In my previous video where I talked about my favorite store picks, this actually made the list. Now this isn't the store pick, and specifically for the multi-time-a-year release for Elijah Craig, the C batches tend to be my favorite. The third release of the year, they have the A, B, and C. But the C's tend to be the best, and for me, the sweet spot. I don't think I've had a bad C batch yet. Some aren't quite as good as others, but I think overall, Elijah Craig Barrelproof is the bottle I almost always reach for when I want a barrelproof, something that's extremely delicious and gives me all those classic bourbon notes. And you know what? It'll start a fire just easy. Coming in at number 4, after years and years being stuck on an island, you're going to be sick of drinking bourbon neat. You're going to want to mix things up. You're going to want to add in a cocktail every once in a while. Use some of that coconut water you might find, or use some of those fresh fruits you might find on the island. So for me, that's going to be Old Granddad 114. Bottle's always delicious, and honestly, if you've watched any of my other videos before, this is my cocktail bourbon. When I make a cocktail, I want to be able to taste the bourbon in it. Old Granddad 114 always delivers on that. Not only is it a high rye mash bill, which a classic cocktail is supposed to have rye in it. It's like a rye whiskey instead of bourbon. But this is as close as you can get if you want to use a bourbon instead and give you that amazing proof you want to not dilute your cocktail. You know what I mean? You still want to taste that bourbon coming through. It's wonderful. Honestly, we're talking about desert island whiskey, so I don't know how it would be with fresh fruit. I don't know if I've ever had a fresh fruit cocktail with this before, but I think it would probably do just fine. It hasn't let me down on any cocktail I've made yet, whether it be a mule, old-fashioned, or, whiskey sour. So anything you want to make with this, always delivers, always delicious, and a great Jim Beam product. Coming in at number 3 on our list of desert island bourbons is going to be one that'll change the flavor profile up. So give you a different flavor every night, ideally, if you can. For me, this is going to be a store pick. And specifically, this store pick is the Old Forester Single Barrels. Now, this is actually a 90 proof pick, which has since been discontinued, but this is back from 2019. And it's a master distiller's pick, actually, from Jackie Zykan. So I haven't cracked this one yet. I will be sometime, but I haven't done it yet. These 100 proof picks, though, I think are really the sweet spot of the Old Forester picks. And when we're talking desert island, we want something that at the end of the night, you could have a different pour, a different flavor every night. So ideally, we finish a bottle, we finish a pour. The next night, we're going to get a different single barrel from a different brand. Probably won't be the case, but for today, it's going to be the Old Forester picks. So 2020 on is when they switched over to the 100 proof for these, and actually the barrel proof as well, which I got a couple barrel proof Old Forester picks as well. There's one. Those are wonderful too, but I really do think the sweet spot with these Old Forester picks are the 100 proofs now. Of course, the 90s I love too, but the 100 proofs. Some of your picks you'll get out there, like your Buffalo Trace picks or even some craft distillery picks. The difference between single barrels isn't that different. You know, you may try one from the shelf, and it's very similar to a store pick you have. I've done many Buffalo Trace picks that are blind like that. With the Old Forester picks, I do think you get a big flavor differentiation. Things like your Russell's Reserve picks that give you a massive flavor difference. I mentioned that in the last video. One pick may taste nothing like Wild Turkey. It may taste nothing like another pick. And I think we kind of get a similar thing, maybe not quite to that extent as the Russells, but with these Old Forester picks. So if you're looking for one Desert Island single barrel, it's going to be the Old Forester 100. Coming in at number 2 is a bourbon that should always remind you of home. Something that's going to bring you comfort and peace, and honestly take you back to a simpler time before you were stuck on the island. For me, that's going to be my daily sipper, or pretty much. Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Always delicious, always wonderful, and I couldn't leave out a Wild Turkey product. In the last category, we were talking about store picks. I could have talked about the Russell's Reserve, and I did talk about it, but I could have included it instead of the Old Forester. I changed gears, but of course I got to have Old Reliable in here. If I want to have a pour at the end of the night where I don't have to think about it too much, I just want to sit back, enjoy it, relax, Wild Turkey Rare Breed or the 101 or 101 8-year, those are always my go-tos. You know, always my go-tos, always on my bar, always delicious. As mentioned in some of my previous videos, Wild Turkey is my distillery. It just works for me. It's wonderful. This isn't quite as hot as the Elijah Craig Barrelproof we talked about in number 5, but it could still probably start a fire for you if you needed to. But this is another one too, with the value, the price. I mean, most markets still have this under $50. Some under $40. I had someone reach out and say they got this for $39 the other day. Just crazy. And at that price, you should have about 80 of these on your bar, and it'd be one I'd never want to run out on an island. Coming in at number 1 on our Desert Island Bourbons, it wouldn't be a true list of Desert Island Bourbons if we didn't include something we love, something rare, and something that you just have to have and enjoy and sip and savor. For me, it's the best bottle I've ever had in my entire life, and that's William Larue Weller. Man, I'm not sure the year on this bottle, either 2018 or 2019. This is a 64%, and this is honestly the best bottle I've ever had. I've said that with many things, I feel like, before. This truly takes the cake. Everything I've put against it, whether it be a Pappy, an older Pappy at 23 or 15, just base stuff, the Michter stuff, I mean, anything. William Larue Weller, no matter the year, really, I've had a few different samples from different years. They're all delicious, but it's just incredible. Incredible. My big question for all of you is, what is that bottle for you guys? You know, what is that bottle that you would bring to the desert island if you had one? Whether it be a collector's item, or just a base bourbon, whatever it may be, the one bottle that you're, I guess, unicorn. You know, your unicorn, if you could drink it and have it all the time, what would it be? And that's this baby for me. I don't know if I'll ever get another bottle of this again. I hope I do. That's why I'm taking my time drinking it. But this truly is something incredibly special, and whew, I hope it never goes away. Alright, well, how can we limit it to just 5 bourbons for our desert island list? Honestly, you should have a full bar of bourbon, no matter where it be. Let's hope we dig in the sand and find a whole bunch more. But this was a lot of fun. I had a great time making this video. As mentioned, if you guys want to see a rye list, a world whiskey list, let me know down in the comments below, and I do want to hear your top 5. You know, what are your 5 desert island bourbons? And you can make up your own categories if you want. You know, what would be the reasons why you'd pick certain bottles, and what would you include, what wouldn't you, and what would you change from my list? So, thank you all so much for being here today. If you haven't yet already, please do check out my website, bourbonsane.com. I'm still putting out weekly news reviews, and it's a great time. I'm loving doing it. Still love writing, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next week. Stay insane.